I was just eating.
Thank you. Would you mind covering the land acquisition as we did last year? Is that
No problem at all.
Yeah.
That's right.
Here, this is how we manipulate this mouse.
Okay.
And just left arrow, so it's right there. And we go right to the agenda and then my welcome. And you'll do your magic with the agenda.
And we've got a jockey.
We don't.
Do you want me to flash you these?
No,
Okay.
we'll do our own.
Okay.
Like that's why the mouse is there. So
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Except
why
we
this-
should probably get something flat because I'm gonna be throwing stuff on here, like
Okay.
agenda and stuff. What if we just got a piece of board or something?
I was just thinking to put it right here on the side, basically like that, and just manipulate the slides this way. Is that too awkward?
Well, yeah.
Okay. then we could use the arrows. We could just use the arrows. Maybe that's fine. Okay. If we can do it, sure.
Yeah, you can get your questions coming during the question period. The prep is about to come down, so if anybody needs their last drink, they should move quickly. It is my sad duty to ask the bar to please be closed, and my privilege to call to order the 2024 AGM for the Nepean Sailing Club. My name is Greg Dargavel. I'm going to serve as your chair this evening and hopefully keep the parliamentary things moving along relatively quickly. We'd like to begin by acknowledging the gift of being on Anishinaabe territory, and specifically Algonquin territory. We'd like to recognize the two closest Algonquin First Nation communities, Kitigan-Zibi and the Algonquins of Pequannocken. We also recognize that today Ottawa is a gathering place for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis from across Canada. This land acknowledgement commits us to the original relationship we were building together through friendship and peace. The agenda for tonight has been distributed. I've received no requests to amend the agenda. Are there any requests from the floor? Seeing none, then, putting forward an executive motion to accept the agenda as distributed. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We have an agenda. Looking to our Commodore for opening remarks.
Thank you, Greg. Good evening, everybody. I can see a lot better with these off. Thanks for joining us tonight for the annual meeting. It used to be an annual general meeting, but now we call them annual meetings. Looking around the room, it's kind of funny, but I see a lot of the same faces that were here for the fall information meeting and the annual meeting that we had last year. So, very dedicated bunch. Thank you all for being here and for spending your Thursday evening with us as we go through where the club is and where we're going. Greg, I would like to thank you once again for joining us and chairing our meeting. As all of you know, Greg is very capable at this and will keep us on track, including kicking the Commodore off the table once he's done his time. Okay. There we go. All right. So, what I'd like to do is spend just a couple of minutes giving you sort of a state of the union as far as where your club is today. And I'm going to cover these points very briefly. I think the board stands with me, and hopefully you share this, that in general, overall our club is in good shape. Our membership levels are healthy. We're actually growing by about 1% per year and continue on that trajectory. Our harbor is full and our yard is in good shape. We have some of the best facilities, as you know, in Canada, as far as our launch facilities and our boating facilities. So those aspects of our club are doing very well indeed. We've invested significantly in the Sail Training Center over the last year or two, and it's showing benefit in terms of the excitement that we're seeing in the youth and the programs that are there, the results we're getting from things like our race team. So that's paying off in terms of the results from the Sail Training Center. And we have a staff who continue to be absolutely dedicated to this club and its success. So we are in those categories doing quite well indeed. We've got a couple of challenges that we recognize as a board that we are working through, and we need to overcome some of those. First, our costs relating to staff, services, and the upkeep of the facilities here has increased over time. And as a not-for-profit, our margins are necessarily very narrow. So that we have to be very proactive at managing that expense and revenue envelope. And we've been very much focused on that over the last year. Our ability to absorb any spikes in either expenses or any unforecast losses in our revenues is limited, and so we've been focused on that. Two areas of concern. One is at the Sail Training Center in terms of the revenue that we forecast and what we actually get out of it. We have to keep a close eye on that. And the second one is obviously the operations here up in the bar and galley. We have turned the corner, so with the great work that Brennan has put into the bar and galley services to bring that online, we're seeing a positive growth in terms of the revenue and expense equation, but there's still some more work to be done there. As far as infrastructure, over many years we've invested in the growth of this club. We've invested in making our facilities better, but they're showing their age. So now what's happening is we're having to put money, time, and effort into keeping what we have going, and that is costing us a little bit more on a year-to-year basis that we have to factor in on the expenses going forward. And then finally, I think as I mentioned previously, we got to make sure that our bar and galley operation meets both our member experience. I know that over the last year or so, it's been an uneven experience for our members up here, and so we're working with the great experience that Brennan has with Tricia and the staff to make sure that that member experience is brought up, as well as being more efficient in terms of our expenses and costs up here. Last one is I'd like to put a pitch in for volunteering. We really do have an essential part of our club as being the volunteer cadre that we have, the whole sense of culture for being volunteers. There's lots of ways to join in the club. Most of you, looking at the faces around this room, are already deeply engaged as volunteers in various aspects of the club, whether it be work parties, committees, or on the board, obviously. But just an ask, reach out to new members, to fellow members, and try and find ways to bring more volunteers into the lifeblood of the club in the ways that appeal to them, whether it be on work parties and the committees. The biggest help we need is actually on committees, and we have to get better at basically getting the word out on how to volunteer and join the club in those areas. A quick report on our priorities as a board over the 23-24 period. You've seen something very similar to this during the fall information meeting, but basically we've achieved, or the board specifically has achieved, a number of important milestones over the last year or so. Those are listed on the left side of the slide. Just to highlight a couple that are there. The safe sport policies that Mike Thompson led us through was a necessary thing we needed to get on with as a club. All of Ontario is affected by that, and we've taken those on. Our SAIL training center is already well compliant with those policies, but we have a little bit more work to do club-wise in order to make sure that we meet all the implementation targets. There was a huge amount of effort put into revitalizing the park, thanks to Corey James and the team. Redoing the west ramp, doing Laser Hill and everything else. That was a project, a very significant project that was delivered within a year, on time and on budget. And I think for those users down on the north end of the park are benefiting from those improvements that have been put in place. So big thanks to Corey and his team for making that happen. In progress, we've got a team of folks working on changing our bylaw to make sure that it is compliant with the act that governs us as a not-for-profit called the ONCA. And once again, we have a great team of Corey. There's a theme here. Renee and Aaron, who've been working together really strongly at moving our bylaw forward in terms of how to make it compliant to the ONCA. We'll be asking you to come together as members, probably under a special meeting in the summer or late summer, to actually review and hopefully approve the changes to our bylaw that we need to do in order to get ourselves up to date with the laws of Ontario. The other one I'd like to highlight in progress is a plan to repair some of our docks. As many of you know who are on the Harbour Committee that I recognize here, there's a bit of a challenge with a few of our main infrastructure docks that they're taking on a bit of water, which is not a good thing if you're a floating thing. So there's a plan being hatched right now at the most effective cost we can find to actually, over time, fix those docks, replace them, put a temporary in place, and Corey will cover that in detail, in more detail anyways, during his part. On the still to do, a couple of things. The most important one is now that we've got the lease extension secured with the City of Ottawa, we need to put roll our sleeves up and get on with negotiating a long-term lease with the City of Ottawa. The good news is they see a long-term arrangement with this club. We're not under threat of being displaced by condos or anything like that. I think the city sees NSC as very much an asset to the city, so that's good news, but we want to make sure that that lease agreement is in our benefit as well as what the city needs to see. So that's basically a progress report as to where we are now as a club. Next one, as I am proud to do, is just a quick report on where we are with our legacy fund. This is an important program that we offer to our youth, our able sailors, as well as our adult sailors, brought by the club through a benevolent fund called the NSC Legacy Fund, which used to be called, I think, the 25-year fund or something like that. It's in good shape. You can see the financials there. We allocated about $3,300 this year. There were 5 applicants, and all of them were very much worthy, and we allocated to the people you see listed on the slide there. The Legacy Fund is something where we can actually proactively support our youth sailors, our able sailors, and I encourage all of us to donate to this when you can. We do it through the Wednesday night speaker series. There's an opportunity there, but you can donate to the Legacy Fund anytime, anywhere, in order to help our youth and able sailors. Before I hand over for the next step to Greg, just a couple of things. As you know, I'm stepping down as Commodore after 2 years. It's been a challenging but very fulfilling time. I'd just like to highlight 3 areas of that very briefly. One, I'd like to thank all of you and all the members of the club for your engagement, for your commitment to the club and your dedication as volunteers, for your ideas and just being here, because frankly, we couldn't be a club without you, right? Secondly, I'd like to thank the staff, Tricia, Sean, James, Jamie Lynn, Kim, etc., for their support over the last several years. We've had some ups and downs, some challenges, but I can tell you and I can attest that they are very dedicated to this club and to the welfare of its members. And every day they put in untold extra hours to make sure that things work the best they possibly can. So big thanks to the staff for your support. And last and definitely not least, a huge thanks to the members of the board that I've had the privilege to work with over the last 2 years as Commodore. They're a great bunch. They really are. None of them have extra time to put into this. All of them put that extra time into the club to make it all operate the best they possibly can. All the successes that we've experienced are due to them. All the failures are on me. So thanks very much, guys. Greg, back to you.
Thank you, David. If David's presentation or any of the director's presentations throughout the evening raise questions for you, I'll just ask you to hold those questions till item 14 well down the agenda, and everybody who wishes to raise questions will have an opportunity to do so at that time. The minutes of the last annual meeting of members, which is on 23 March of 2023, have been distributed. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Seeing none, bringing forward an executive motion to adopt the minutes of the annual meeting of the members held on 23 March 2023. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We have minutes. Now the question of money to Andrew, our treasurer.
Thank you, Greg. And I'm sure you've all read every single word of the audited statements that came out with the package. Good. Glad to hear it. So I could just leave. No. So let's see, what are we going to do here? Whoops, that's not it. Oh, here we go. We found it. Here we have a summary of operations. This is the day-to-day revenue and expenditures of the club. And actually, just I want to precursor this is saying this has nothing to do with the capital expenditures. This is strictly operational. and I'll get to the capital stuff a little later. So the good highlights, total revenue is up about $330,000 over the previous year, landing us at just over $2.6 million. This was made up mostly of the galley, as it increased about $213,000. Membership and mooring was up about $71,000, and sail training up about $24,000. And sail training also was successful in receiving $79,000 grant through the Canada Summer Jobs Program. Membership revenues at $496 is up about 5% over the previous year, and mooring revenues of $725,000 is up about 6.5% over the previous year. Some of the contributors to the loss that we experienced this year is the board was a bit aggressive in expectations for the new adventure camp, Discovery Camp. I think I spoke about this at the fall information meeting. We had budgeted for a revenue of about $90,000 and it came in about $48,000. Along with that, the sailing school staffing went a bit over budget. There were additional costs to the club associated with the spring flooding. It affected various components of the club through revenue and additional expenses. And we're still trying to get a handle on the expenses, food and beverage cost within the galley. Since the pandemic, prices for supplies and wages have all increased. I see Colin there nodding his head. Thank you for your affirmation on that. As a result, these expenses ended up higher than budgeted. So we had a revenue of $2.6 million, expenses of $2.5 to $9 million, with an operational profit of $79,000. The amortization this year increased from last year by about $24,000 due to the heavy capital investment we've had over the last couple of years. The landing at $251,000 of amortization. With that, we end up with an after amortization loss of $172,000. Looking at the actual versus budget, revenue was up by about $5,000. Expenses were over budget by about $216,000, which I explained earlier. We had budgeted for about $39,000 surplus, which means the net result is under budget by $211,000. Moving on to capital. On the capital side of things, our financial policy outlines how we calculate the capital budget envelope each year. It's based on the amount of the previous year's amortization, plus 50% of any surplus. Last year, our capital envelope was $227,000, as that was the amount of the amortization in fiscal 2022. And there was no surplus that year. So the board invested the full capital envelope of $227,000 on this list of projects: IT upgrade, weeping tile system, flood protection, the 505 sail, one design development program, the website development. Great website. Thank you very much, Stephen. The 17-foot rigid inflatable boat with motor and trailer, the 12-foot rib, some new 420s and 5 used C420s, the shade structure for Laser Hill, and the sail training pad for the east side of the dinghy yard. We also have something called the capital reserve, and that is set aside specifically to maintain the club's infrastructure. It's funded from the other 50% of any surplus we have from the previous year. Going into last fiscal year, we had accumulated $385,000 in capital reserve. Now, this past year, we tapped in to that of $140,000, specifically for the regrade of the west ramp and Laser Hill, leaving the balance of the capital reserve at $245,000. And just a reminder, these are all capital expenditures and has nothing to do with the operational aspect of the financial statements. So looking back 10 years, and this is kind of a neat graph as to showing where we've been and where we're heading. Bit of a trend analysis of the operation going back. As you can see, the club chugged along fairly predictably on the revenue, expenses, net income, and amortization for quite some time until we hit this pandemic period where things got a little wonky. Revenue expenses dipped, and with the invaluable assistance through the Canada Employment Wage Subsidy, the bottom line actually remained fairly healthy. but it was a significant bump in the road that we are still recovering from. We are still working at stabilizing the finances as post-pandemic cost of supplies and wages have increased dramatically. And we are glad to see the trajectory starting to get back on track. So if you were to continue those lines, those top two lines from about 2018 up to 2024, we're getting close to what the trajectory would have been if we hadn't seen the pandemic bump. The dotted lines are just what we've budgeted for 2024. Everything up to that is actual. So moving forward for this fiscal, this slide is a summary of the fiscal year's operational budget and capital investment plan currently in execution. Back in the fall, we had worked out an operational budget for this year, but we had to scrub that budget and rework it as there were early indicators that we were going to head into another deficit situation. So with the cooperation of the staff and the board really digging in to make this happen, we feel comfortable with this plan now. Revenue is forecast to increase to $2.656 million, expenses to $2.364 million, providing an operational profit of $292,000. After amortization, we were planning on a $34,000 net surplus. The capital envelope available, based on last year's amortization, is $251,000. However, due to the after amortization deficit in the previous 2 years, we've not established a detailed capital investment plan as we have in the past couple of years. There will be some essential investments required to keep existing facilities going. For example, the annex roof has been on the books for a number of years. We'll be taking a look at that. And there seem to be some dock tanks Corey keeps talking about. I don't know. We'll be assessing the infrastructure regularly to ensure that it stays healthy, and we'll invest when required. We have invested about $600,000 of capital in the club over the past 2 years, but we're just going to slow that down a little bit this year. Overall, this is a healthy budget that reflects a successful and thriving club. Summary. Overall, the club continues to have a healthy balance sheet. The 2022-2023 saw a small operational profit of 3% and saw a loss after amortization of 6.6%. The operational budget for this coming year aims for a small surplus, 1.2% after amortization, and capital investments, we're going to deal with infrastructure as required. And our focus this year, the board and the CGM, is to improve operational budget performance and get those costs in control. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. So looking back financially, we have the audited reports for 2022. They have been distributed in line with our requirements with the general meeting package, or the annual meeting package. So I now put on the floor a motion to approve the 2022 audited financial statements coming as an executive motion. Seeing no questions, putting the question, those in favor of approving the audited financial statements? Opposed? Abstentions? We have accepted the audited financial statements. Going forward, we need to appoint auditors for the next set of audited statements, and the executive is moving that Welch LLP Chartered Accountants be appointed as NSC's auditors for the 2023 and the 2024 fiscal year. That's coming again as an executive motion. Any wish to debate? Seeing none, putting the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We have auditors appointed. Looking at our membership situation, Aaron, on to you.
Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight? More and more energy, I need it. Yes! All right. As you know, I'm your membership director. I am tasked with keeping track of your membership, obviously. Quick synopsis, year over year, as David had mentioned, our numbers look stable. We're in good shape. We attract people to our sport, to our club. We're seeing right now a 1% increase since last year at this time, and we'll continue to see over the next couple of months members joining. Am I not close enough? Okay. Oh, I haven't switched. Sorry. Thank you. You got some data. This shows a 3-year sort of example or comparative as of March. All right. But what is the data telling us is what, the question is. It's great that we're, at the total stable, but what is happening? And so we've broken it down by the different types of memberships. And what you see here is there is a slight decline year over year of our full membership, our family memberships. But you see an increase in our crewing memberships. So, what does that mean? Before we get into that, though, who are our members? You probably have seen these slides before, but they're pretty colors, and I find them really interesting. Our members are very committed to our club. We have members who've been here 45 years, which is, I believe, the anniversary for this year. But we also have a ton of new members. 30% of our members are 3 years or less, which is fascinating. There's a lot of us. So just out of curiosity, who's sitting here? Who has been a member for 40 years plus? Put up your hand. Don't be nervous. How about 30 to 40 years? Yeah, there's a few of you. Come on. How about 20 to 30? There's quite a few of you, yeah. And then 10 to 20? Quite a bit more. How about less than 10? Welcome, thank you. How about less than 3? Welcome. Appreciate you coming tonight. When you look at 3 years or less, that's about 120 new memberships. And within there, there's more members in that because they're family members. That's a lot of people. Of those new members, I kind of want to just break down, well, who are they? 72% of them are full members, family, adults, whatever that is. 24% are crewing members. But when we look at the whole of our membership, 84% of our membership is full members. And crewing members, it's 15. So what that's saying is we're losing our full members and we're gaining our crew, which we did see in that trend in that original one. So full members typically are ones who either own boats, they syndicate ownership of boats, or they are part of a sale share program. So if we continue to see this trend 5 years down the road, we might start to see empty slips. So there's something we got to think about as a board, as a club. Where do we put our attention? What do we focus on? Maybe we got to start converting those crewing memberships into full memberships. How do we get them into boats and ownership? Next. I love demographics. I'm a planner. The demographics of this club, we'd say the average age is 50 plus. That's most of our members, a lot of our members. In our newer members, the 3 years and less, we've got an average age of 47, so that's good news. We're bringing it a little bit younger. But what's a really interesting number that I found was the age 18 to 35. Only 5% of our membership is that young family gap. So, very interesting. So, we got to think about, well, what does that mean? Do we, as a membership director and as a committee and thinking about, the future, what do we do? Where do we focus our attention? I'm going to ask you for help on this, if anybody wants to join me on my committee talking about volunteers. What do we do? Do we look at, should we try to increase that gap for the young people? Or do we focus on what we're good at, which is drawing people who may be just starting to make a bit of income at 50 plus, and make it a club that they want to join and focus on that community. It's up to us. So, looking forward this summer, I've reignited the membership committee. I'm always looking for volunteers, so let me know, as I mentioned. We're keeping an eye out for new member meetups and tours. Note that everyone is welcome to these. There's a focus to invite the new members, but everyone is welcome. We are also participating in Doors Open, which is an opportunity to bring in new members and to showcase our amazing club. We hand out anniversary burgies for those who've been members for 10 years, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Can you believe it? 45 years. We're handing out anniversary burgies at Sail Past. So keep that in mind. If you're wondering where you are in your tenure, feel free to email me and I can check it for you. We also have a goal of creating a new member package. We've had them in the past, but we need to refresh them and digitize them and make them easy to read. We also want to create a welcoming committee at new events, or not new events, but all events. I'm working with Sean to kickstart the creation of a sailing cooperative. We'll see where that goes. And lastly, we'll be doing a volunteer appreciation soiree at the end of the season. So, next, I would like to invite Kit Homewood up. Is she here? She's sitting around? There we go. So, in the fall, we hand out what's called the Nepean Annual Volunteer Appreciation Award. And unfortunately, Kit wasn't able to make it in the fall. And so I wanted to congratulate her at this event for all the hard work she did last year. This award is an award that is actually voted on by our membership. It's not rigged in any way. It's all just everybody has a cast. One vote for one member. And you wouldn't believe, I had never seen it before, but how many members rallied together to make sure they got a vote in for Kit. Her work was incredible. She promotes everyone getting out sailing, but particularly women getting out sailing, which is very important. I don't know if our fleet captain might want to say a word, but we also have David here too, and we have the award. If anybody's got a camera? Thank you.
So supporting that remark, Kit's extremely useful to our fleet operations in terms of promoting and maintaining women's sailing and the relationship that supports that with the Britannia team, who have a woman Commodore at this time who's very much into sailing, sailing of women. Yes, don't shut me down. And Kit has also offloaded one of my chores, which was making my life difficult around organising all the trophies and awards, and that's been really helpful to me. De-stressed me a lot. Thank you, Kit.
And if I can get tech support, I closed the wrong computer.
Good to go.
And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron. The next director to report will be Dominic, talking about fleet activities.
Great. Fleet review, 2023. Spring flood, we handled that much more gracefully than in prior years. The Harbour Committee have really got their act together. So Fleet was very grateful to that, which meant Skiff and Catawent regatta happened successfully this year. So that team is very happy they had a good regatta. Sail Past was adrift, about like 55 plus boats out there. Nod was a great team, and that team is rolling over into this year, so I have a great feeling about Nod this year. I think we're actually going to see some growth again, which we need. Summer was full-on climate change, well, so was spring with the floods. Smoke, first time we've ever handled smoke. I had to come up with a strategy and a policy and a set of rules. around what we do in smoke situations. That was not something I expected to do, but we have, we have numbers. 8 is the number, John. Okay, good, yes. Social day cruising was very good. I'll talk to that in a moment. National Capital Cup, the Martin 16 Regatta, came back after a extended pandemic hiatus. They managed to run the regatta for able sailors, as in all normal years. So that was really good to see back. And we closed out the season with a standalone championship Viper Regatta with an excellent team and quite profitable as well, with a lot of boats in from out of town for 3 days of racing. So well done that team. In terms of my sort of scorecard, meeting my commitment to the club with the help of the 30+ members of the fleet committee and the 7 staff members who focus on fleet operations. Social day sailing was a huge success last year. Racing was solid all year long, club racing. The annual regattas, including the Viper regattas, were good. As I mentioned, two that came on, one special, one return. We improved operations and training for volunteers on the fleet side to be able to be more actively engaged on the water. And that we're continuing to ramp up this year. Continuously improving operations. It was better last year. Operations were smoother. Trish put in a process where we could better request resources and communicate better with the staff. We did okay on that last year. I think we're doing better this year. She's nodding, good. And a program about trying to recover one design racing so that we have a future. I'll show one slide on that. Boating is for all types of people, persons, and diversity is important, and we must continue to push on all the axes of diversity. Plans for this year, training, very strong. I've fully dedicated that portfolio to Mike Roper, who's doing a good job. Keelboat and dinghy practice, small boat rescue courses, and powerboat orientation for volunteers to be able to safely drive our powerboats at events. So that's our organized program. You've probably seen slides around that. And that's all about structure of training people to sail, so they get more skills, so they're more engaged, and training people to volunteer in fleet activities, including the officials courses, mark laying, race officering, and judging. Northview are coming back in a couple of weeks. Still plenty of seats available for their course to help you go faster. I've given up all hope. I'm going faster, so I'm going to miss that one. Day sailing and cruising, dinghy rental will open on June 1, and there'll be more qualification days this year than last year, so there'll be more chance for members to take out the rental dinghies, and there'll be some more structure around that as well, so we'll look for that. Racing, crew bank, use it for regatta crew, we're going to push on that this year, and a full season of club racing, and several championship levels at the NOD, including NOD is the J80 East Coast Championship, the Fireball Canadians, the J22, and CNC 27 Ontario's. So then registration opens in 7 weeks. Social day cruising program's now in its 3rd year, I think. Tim Moses and is doing an awesome job there. Great for keelboat owners. Plenty of sailors need a few more owners, always room for more owners. It's a great chance to get your boat out there if you're under person, if you don't have enough crew to go out on regular events, and to get assistance from experienced sailors. It's not just a new crew going out, experienced people too. So that continues. Club racing is solid. Registrations already open. First race will be on May 7th this year, I guarantee it. Or I'll quit. So get your crew together, sign up, do the paperwork. It's all online, very easy to do. If you don't know how to do it, come and chat with me. Rust racing, Wednesday afternoon racing hosted by our friends at Britannia. There's more wind in the afternoon than in the evenings. It's relaxed. find it there. There's half a dozen boats from NSC, and I've already heard of 2 or 3 that's saying, you know what, I'm going to do it this year. They have usually about 25 boats out on most Wednesdays the whole season. So look for that for keel boats. You can just register through our race registration. Very easy, no cost. And finally, we're in the 2nd year of our program, Securing the Future of One Design, recognizing that One Design, the quantity of singles type boats has been in decline over the last 20 years, bluntly. So we did buy a Race Rig 505. There it is. There are 505 volunteers. This has all been done by volunteers. Fleet staff haven't had to touch the thing. They mentored 12 participants, raced 4 regattas home and away. The goal this year is to flip that boat to an enthusiastic member who will race it regularly, and then find a way to use that money to buy the next one. That is the goal, not just mentoring, but to flip it and grow one by one by one. That is it for the fleet report.
Thank you, Dominic. Mike's already here to go. Sail training time.
Sail training is always on time because we spend a lot of time training young people to be racers, and you got to be there at the gun. My name's Mike Thompson. I'm the sail training director, and for those of you who don't know, because as Aaron pointed out, we have a lot of new members in the club. The sail training directorate is responsible for the youth sailing, so that's the can sail programs where we teach people starting at about age 9 all the way up to age 18 how to sail a boat, how to race a boat, and how to have fun. We also have the race team. These are the keeners that actually take boats, go to various places around the province and beyond. We also run the Able Sail program, which is our sailing program for persons living with disabilities. I'm extremely proud of all 3 of these programs. It's just such a great privilege to be the director that gets to take credit for all the work that the staff and the kids do. So the 2024 programs look an awful lot like the 2023 programs for obvious reasons. Sail Canada dictates what the training programs look like. We follow the Can Sail program directly, so we're running all the usual programs. We last year had an extremely strong race team that went to way too many away regattas. I was blown away. 7 away events. And we did very, very well. I talked about that in the fall meeting. Last year, we introduced the Discovery and Adventure Camps. These were new programs for us. Quite frankly, a bit of a stumble on the financial side. I'm very pleased to report that we've been much more focused on the expected revenue for these camps this year. And I'm much more pleased to report that we've actually exceeded those. So our revenues for these camps are over our budget, which is really great. Okay, talk a little bit about the Able Sail program. I shouldn't have a favorite. You got kids, you're not supposed to have a favorite. You got portfolios, you're not supposed to have a favorite. I've got Can Sail, I've got Race Team, and I've got Able Sail. I got a favorite, it's Able Sail. This just makes me feel so good about being a member of the Nepean Sailing Club. The big event that we did, or the big change that we did last year is we integrated the youth sail training program into the Able Sail program. So we used to run these kinds completely separate. We didn't, the kids didn't go over to where the Able Sailors were, and the Able Sailors didn't go to where the kids were. Completely flip that on your ear. We've got instructors from the Can Sail program helping to train Able Sailors. The Able Sailors on days when the weather's inclement actually come up to the Sail Training Center and basically hang out there, watch the videos, do the dry land training, all that. So it's been really good. The big thing about Able Sailing is it's extremely volunteer intensive. So I always take this opportunity to put in a plug. I'm going to put in another plug before I'm done in the next 2 minutes. If you're interested in volunteering, and you are interested in volunteering, aren't you? Come and volunteer at the Able Sail program. This Saturday is Able Sail days. So we have two big events starting 1 o'clock on Saturday right here. One is for the volunteer training, like what the heck do I do? And then the other is for the people who want to participate in the actual sailors, you know, what to expect when you get here. So that's this Saturday, 1 o'clock. Come one, come all. We can use all of you. I want to talk a little bit about fleet renewal. This was something that Andrew was hinting at. The last year we reinvested a lot into our fleet, both power boats for the instructors and the people keeping an eye on people in the water, and also for our sailboats. It was much needed. This year, and this was a multi-year plan that we put in place. This year, we're just going to have to suspend that, and that's just the economic reality. Looking to bring that back up once we can get the revenue situation straightened out. Going to wind up with one last bullet about volunteers. Volunteers really do make the Sail Training Center and its operations happen. It's a very volunteer-intensive plant. We've got parents who make sandwiches, parents who come out on lessons and on race day to fire up the barbecue and make sure you know, little Susie and little Johnny have got something nice and warm to eat when they get back. Boat repairs, you'll be surprised to hear that the kids beat up the boats. I was shocked. So we have a lot of people doing a lot of gel coat work. So we got lots of stuff to do for you to do. And the Able Sail program is an extremely volunteer-intensive program. For every one sailor on the water, there are more than 2.5 volunteers making sure that can happen. So if we get 5 people out, you can add it up. We got a lot of people out. So I'll just let it go with that. So the good, the bad, and the ugly, volunteering is very strong. You know, the bad, last year we tried this thing called Volunteer Cause Connect. It was this online portal. It didn't work. This year we're back to spreadsheets. And the ugly, there is no ugly. I'm the Sail Training Director. I get to do the coolest job at NSC, so there's no problem.
Thanks again, Mike. Coming forward for the first of his 2 hats are Rear Commodore and Harbor Master Corey.
Thanks, Greg. Good evening, everyone. How does this work? Oops, that's not it. No. How about this one? You know, 37 years at IBM, you'd think you'd be able to operate a laptop. Good evening. This is, as Greg alluded to, this is kind of the first half of 2 parts that I'll be sharing with you tonight at the AGM, or at the annual meeting. So first off, a report as the Rear Commodore and Harbor Master. Wanted to let you know that the meetings of the Mooring Allocation Committee have been completed. We have a full harbor again and a full yard again for the coming year. We've cleared the wait list. We're on track with previous years, and we'll be publishing the new allocations shortly. Does anyone want to hazard a guess as to how many changes the Mooring Allocation Committee deals with each year? Tom, you're not allowed to play. Anybody on the committee? Tom, you know you're not allowed to play, definitely not. Anybody else want to take a guess? Back of the room? 200. Wow, that's pretty high. 147 changes in our harbor this year, but everybody's in a place that will suit their boat, and everybody who was hoping to get a spot in the harbor has a spot in the harbor, so that's good news. Super thanks to the Harbor Committee. A little note on the coming year. I think many of you have seen that Interlux has pulled the VC17 product. You're all boat owners in here. How many people have a little supply of VC17 in the garage? Right? Okay, good thing. Recently, yeah, are you selling it? I always thought the Chandler's price was high, but I can just imagine what yours is going to be. $300 a can. Anybody who has read the recent report from, or the press release from Interlux, they've suggested an offshore product as a replacement. They've also suggested a very labor-intensive removal of the VC product from your hull. And I would just like to take this opportunity to remind you that you are all bound by a very strict environmental policy at this club. And so if any of you are planning on removing the old VC from the hull, you are going to have to take care of and dispose of all those materials strictly, and none of them are going to go airborne when you're doing that process. Also, it's very solvent heavy, and so you want to make sure that those rags are stored somewhere where they won't burst into flames. How many people have had a linseed oil fire on rags, right? We don't want any of that. So it's a pretty heavy duty undertaking, and I'd advise you to approach it cautiously. The VC that you have from previous years is probably good enough for the purposes that you have in mind, but please be cautious on that. Question was raised leading up to the meeting about the ramps that have been modified up in the park. We had hoped that the new pitch of the ramp would be enough, Henry, to get everybody where they needed to be with the boats, but we're getting some great feedback from some of our members of all sorts, of all ages, saying, you know, there's still some obstacles pulling up the ramp, getting into my boat, getting down the docks and whatnot, and candidly, we want to keep you sailing as long as possible. So I don't exactly have concrete plans for that ramp winch yet, but I plan to approach these people next year to get approval to put the ramp winch back in place in the park. I want you all to start thinking about, no, I don't want you to start thinking about the fall. I want to think about launch. I want to think about this frozen harbor out here, but it's probably going to be a very dry fall. All the reports from the forecasting bodies are pointing towards us having very low water levels leading into fall, and we may take some extraordinary measures to help prepare for that. So ahead of launch, you may see some tags put on your cradle. If your boat draws more than about 5¼ feet or 5 feet, you may see us putting your cradles into specific parts of the yard, so if we have to, we can get at them before the water levels get too low for your boat. And picture on the right-hand side, wanted to tell you about this fantastic dock repair project that we have planned coming up this year. Okay, where am I going? All right, do this again. Did it. Okay, recognize the diagram, right? Wanted to point out a couple of things on this chart. We have an extraordinary docking system here at the Nepean Sailing Club. We have 501 wet slips and about 150 slips on shore. But on the wet slips, we have a really great docking system that was built for us by Kropf. It's current dollars, it's worth about $6 million or so. We had to have it repriced for our insurance, so it's super expensive. And unfortunately, a few of the tanks are taking on water. And as was highlighted earlier, that's a bad thing. When you've got a floating docking system, none of it should have any water in it. I did want to point out before we talk about the next section that Kropf has been super helpful. They've been very responsive in helping us out in terms of figuring out what exactly is going on with the docking system, what's the source of the leaks. But what it's come down to is we have to hatch a plan to get a few of the sections of the dock out of the harbor so that we can inspect them properly, figure out how best to repair them, and then put them back in. And so I wanted to walk you through kind of what our plan looks like. So we'll zoom in on as if we were zooming in on a section that I had super sophisticated software. I'd be able to show this in real time, but we'll zoom in on a section of our dock here. The main docks are built out of little T sections. Sorry about the feedback. The main docks are built out of little T sections. So every 4 boats all the way of the dock, those docks are built out of Ts. And the Ts can actually be disconnected. And then further, the T sections themselves can be disassembled. And this is important. I'm going to step away from the microphone for 1 sec. These are the parts. The main sections, the long sections that go down the middle, those are the parts that are currently leaking. And so not all of them, obviously, and we're keeping pretty good track of it, and we're pumping out sections that are seriously leaking. But those sections can be removed. So what I wanted to do was to share with you kind of our plan to figure this out. Been accused of coming up with IKEA diagrams in the past, so this is my IKEA diagram of how we're going to fix the docks. We're going to issue you gigantic hex wrenches that you can. So here's how it's going to work. So plan is to disassemble the main tanks from the docking system. We'll start with the most egregiously leaking tank, remove it, and then replace it with a temporary ramp, like a temporary dock that will fill the gap. We have an idea, James and I have been working pretty intensively on this. We have an idea about how we're going to get those tank sections out of the harbor using our tractor and using the launching ramps that we have in the club to be able to get them up on shore. James himself happens to be an excellent welder. I don't know if you knew that or not, but he's very skilled. And we'll test the tanks when they're on the shore. We'll find out what the source of the leak is, determine whether or not we can repair them properly, and then relaunch them back into place, and then repeat. So we'll go to the next most egregiously leaking tank and fix it, and then the next and the next and the next until we get through it all. And the objective here is to use a combination of some volunteer skill and some professional skill, and also try to keep the costs for the club down as best we can. Because the docking system itself is quite expensive, as you've heard, and the best we can do to repair it is the best we can do for the club. So that's the plan. Sound good? How you guys doing tonight? Yeah? Yeah? Okay? All right. So that's the plan for the dock. Do you want to introduce me for the next part, or do you want me to introduce me for the next part?
The only thing that's the same about Corey's two hats is both portfolios have some assembly required, so he's going to assemble something totally different now.
Okay. All right, moving on. So shifting gears, want to talk to you a little bit about the Ontario Not-for-Profits Corporation Act. Like, that's a pretty significant shift, right? We're talking about leaking dock tanks and welding holes, and now we're talking about some new government legislation. The first chart is one that you saw at the fall information meeting. I won't drain it, but the point here is that the Government of Ontario has passed new legislation that governs the not-for-profits. This is the first Corporations Act specifically designed for not-for-profits in Ontario. Previously, all of the not-for-profits were registered under the Corporations Act, but registered as not-for-profits. This act is specifically designed for not-for-profits. And at David's request, I've been leading a team of people to help figure out what's the best way to adopt this for the Nepean Sailing Club, which I shared with you at the fall meeting. It's a big team. It's not just me. We have most of the board engaged on it. We have some members engaged on it, and we will shortly, have had already, and will shortly again, have the past Commodores engaged on it as well. I wanted to give you a quick status of where we stand, a little diagram on the right-hand side and some verbiage on the left. We're a little bit behind where we'd hoped to be. The last month or so has thrown us a few curveballs that have slowed us down a little bit. We had to plan a couple of extra workshops to deal with some of the changes that we were proposing. In terms of where we are at the point now where we're assessing what the impact of the legislation is on our existing policies. We have a draft bylaw in place, which is being a new draft bylaw in place, which is being reviewed by the board. And then as soon as the board's comfortable with it, we'll engage the governance of the club. It'll go to the Commodore's Council, and then it will come to you, the members, to vote on. We're anticipating calling a special meeting in the summertime to review the changes that are required and to seek your agreement to move ahead with the proposals, the draft proposal that we've put in place. And that will take place sometime in the summertime. I did want to give you just a quick snapshot. I can't see the screen super well, so hopefully I'll do this in the right order. But in keeping with the Act, the words that the language that the Act uses are something called membership classes. We are proposing for Nepean 2 membership classes, very similar to the ones that we have now, a voting membership class and a non-voting membership class. And we think that this is important for the club to maintain continuity from the bylaw that we have now into the new bylaw, and also protect the rights of the non-voting members as well. Inside each class, using the new language, will be multiple membership types. And if you wanted to the shorthand version on it, the membership types are what you would see in the fee schedule. So language like full, crew, social, alumni, out of town, that type of thing. Those are the things that are going to show up in the membership types. The concept of a family at the Nepean Sailing Club we think is quite special, and we're planning to keep that intact as best we can, so that when a member joins, their family is extended the rights of membership for all of their underage kids, as well as their cohabitant spouse. And we've also introduced, to help streamline the policies that are already in place, a very clear and strict definition of what a member in good standing is. So these are the types of things you're going to see in the membership changes. The rest of the bylaw we will be showing to you in a draft form shortly, as soon as the board's had a chance to give it the quick review. Heard it beep. Is that my beep? That's not my beep. That's good though. I feel good about it. Okay, so that's pretty much all that I wanted to share with you. This is where we're at right now as of March. Next step is to move it through the rest of the club's formal governance process and then get back to you mid-summertime to share the final changes with you, final draft with you. And I think I'll pass it to you.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corey. So non-harbor facilities and staff fall under the purview of our Vice Commodore. Brendan, the mic is yours.
So, just click. Oh, the mess. There we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Brendan. I'd like to start by thanking Tricia McBride. She's back on duty again. I'd also like to thank our core staff for stepping in, helping out, keeping things running. Jamie Lynn in the office, Kim Ralph in accounting, sailing activity manager Sean Batten. We are in the midst of hiring a hospitality manager, our head cook Carol, and obviously James Pohl, marine and property manager. So our year in review, as David mentioned earlier, we are in the midst of a new lease. We have a lease extension in place, and we'll continue to work on a new lease that's beneficial in the long term for the city and members. The building is obviously starting to show its age. In the past couple of months, the city has been on site to remove samples of the roof and insulation, and are going to begin a new complete roof this spring, hopefully before our busy season starts. It's been in the plans for years and long overdue and welcomed. City's also done repairs on our main sewer line in front of the building. Had some clogs, we're going uphill. So they have done some repairs. There may be more to be done in the future, and they have planned to do a new concrete sidewalk out front as well. That should happen this spring. Last spring, due to high water, a large group of volunteers and staff had the opportunity to put together our new Tiger Dam to prevent flooding to the grounds and building. Thankfully, it looks like we won't be needing it anytime soon with the lack of snow and no rain this spring. Past year, we've also installed a permanent awning structure out there to provide shade on hot sunny days in the summer. We've completed minor landscaping and cleanup of the west lawn and play structure area. James Pohl has asked me that if any volunteers are interested in helping with landscaping and gardening out there, to contact him. We do need some help this summer. Also this summer we completed, I should say this winter, we completed flooring, drywall, and new paint in the main hallway downstairs due to past flooding. Finally, some upgrades in our tech system, including point-of-sale, Wi-Fi, and business management, have been installed and are being implemented for overall better member experience. That's an ongoing process.
So looking ahead, 2024 in the clubhouse. As mentioned, we are in the process of hiring a new food and beverage manager to control our operating costs and ensure an increase to our net revenue from the bar and galley. We slightly improved our bottom line last year. We have a long way to go. We struggle with inflation, higher staff and alcohol, food costs. Remains our goal to provide the best possible pricing and service for members in the future. We're struggling here with higher prices on everything, same as you are at home. So we'll continue to monitor that. We're on it, and we're working hard to get that solved. Based on projected savings and member feedback, we'll endeavor to continue to provide table service in the members' lounge. We will be going back to the buzzer system on the deck for busy race nights, and we'll ensure that our staff is at the bar to process orders and serve drinks. Hopefully we can speed up the process. Friday night entertainment has remained popular and will continue going forward. Speaker series will continue on Wednesdays and trivia on Thursdays. We'll continue our landscaping projects, and again, please reach out if you can volunteer. We do have a new member charge policy in place that will include monthly detailed billing, that's new, for members with a credit card on file. This should save some time at lineups at the bar as well. Walk-in office hours have been changed. They will coincide with seasonal hours of operation, and the hours are posted on the television downstairs, and I believe in the telltale. Also, it's becoming more obvious that our building's getting older. Our infrastructure is getting very old. Every year we see more required maintenance and repairs such as flooring, plumbing, electrical, and so on. As with everything, prices for materials and labors rise every year. So again, another struggle to keep up. Our CGM and Marina property manager continue to prioritize the work required and are constantly in communication with the board of directors in the city of Ottawa to ensure we can keep up with the required maintenance and repairs. I think that's it. Finally, I'd like to thank all the volunteers for all the hard work they do. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks.
Thank you, Brendan. The general meeting or the annual meeting is always under control of the membership. It is your time to raise any questions, any issues that are important to you. I believe, Stephen, you already have some from they've gone away, okay. We thought we had some from the live streaming. So this is really your opportunity to question the board. When you come to the mic, you can question an individual member or throw out a general question. What I'd ask you to do is when you come to the mic, just identify yourself. I'm sure most of us know you anyways, but it's very helpful to our secretary. You'll get one kick at the can, and if you need a supplementary based on the answer that director has given you, we'll give you a supplementary, but that's your 2 kicks at the can, and then you can ambush board members at the bar. Are there questioners from the floor? If you'd come to the mic, sir, and identify yourself.
Mark Chanfalioni. The question's actually related to the little rowboats, I guess the skiffs, whatever, the dinghies. Not the dinghies that sail, but the dinghies that are all in the rack that seem to be there every year. Is there any progress in cleaning that up? Because we're interested in purchasing one of the units if they're available, and there doesn't seem to be any motion or movement in the cleaning it up.
Sounds to me like a harbor master question.
I don't think so.
Now you know what a board meeting is like.
Oh, the dinghies. So Mark, just tell me which one you want to buy and how much you want to pay, and we'll deliver it to your slip. Yeah. So has progress been made? Yes. Are we where we want to be? No. So there's a couple things that have to happen. I kind of break them into 2 parts. One part is for the people who need to store their tenders, that's the word you were looking for. They need to store their tenders on shore. We need to kind of improve the way you can get them on and off the racks, right? And so we'd like to be able to deal with that problem. For the ones that are kind of like, we don't know who owns them. We've made a fair amount of progress on that, but we're not all the way along. And I think this will be the year where we just kind of draw the line and say, all right, nobody's declared their ownership on these. We are going to take ownership of them as a club and redistribute them to our own, to the members. So back to the initial comment, I think if there's one that you've got your eye on, let's work together on it. And I would extend the offer to the rest of you as well. If there's some that you've got your eye on, please do. But it's not that wouldn't be the first time that we've done it, where we've extended the offer to the membership. And hey, let's make use of them. If they're going to be here on the property, let's make use of them, right? So yeah. Is that okay? Is that okay, Mark? Yeah. Okay.
Further questions? Seeing none, it looks like we'll close the question period and move on to the report from our nominating committee, which is our past Commodore, Michael Hoffman.
All right, good evening, everybody. So I've divided my section here into 3 parts. I'll talk about the comings and goings of this board versus our next board. And we'll put the slate on the table, and then we'll move to a motion for your approval. So first off, under comings, we've got these directors that are nominated or will be hopefully be acclaimed, that are basically staying in their current positions. So that's Dominic and Fleet, Andrew and Treasurer, Renee as Secretary, Aaron Membership, Stephen in PR, Mike Thompson Sale Training, and then Dana, who's not here tonight, staying on in Social. We've also got some comings in the form of director switching positions, and that's Corey, nominated for Commodore. In returning officially, what that means is that Brendan was fantastic last year in putting his hand up when we had our Vice Commodore resign. And when that happens here at the club, the board, according to our bylaw, is able to appoint a director. And so last year, Brendan was appointed, so that he'll be coming back, hopefully officially. And then in returning veterans, so Scott Haley is sticking up his hand for Rear Commodore. And that is truly a returning vet. I forget how many years Scott's been on the board prior. He's had a little bit of a hiatus, so it's probably time. We'll be staying on, David. So David Naismith, with the change in Commodore, he takes over as past Commodore, which means in terms of goings, yours truly is stepping off, stepping away from the board. So this is the slate that we have for us. I'm not going to read it out. But I will just take a moment here and pile on the volunteer theme that you've been hearing about tonight. The biggest ask that this club asks of our members in terms of volunteering is the board. And what we see here is not a lot of new blood. I saw a lot of hands come up actually tonight with 10 years, members 10 years and fewer. And we need to, the system is designed for folks to join committees to learn how things work, and for those committees you can come up and get experience on the board. So I would encourage you all to join committees if you haven't already, because when I presented this report to the board last month or the month before, 6 of our directors this year are going to be their last term eligible in that portfolio. So next year is going to be a big turnover year. Right. So I think this is where I turn it over to you, Greg.
Thank you, Michael. Under our bylaw, nominations may not come from the floor. They must be produced ahead of time. And as such, our nominating committee has come forward with one name for each board position. And I hereby declare those people acclaimed in the positions they've been presented to you. So your board for the 2024 year will be Corey Glynn as Commodore, Brendan Keeley as Vice Commodore, Scott Haley Rear Commodore, Dominic Goodwill as Fleet, Andrew Dixon in Treasurer's role, Renee Young as Secretary, Aaron O'Connor as Membership, Stephen Kidd in Public Relations, Mike Thompson in Sale Training, Dana Helmer as Social Director, and David Neesmith moving into Past Commodore. Please congratulate your new chair. I believe there's one more small item of business, a face you've already seen twice, but hey, we like him anyways.
Oh my goodness. Okay, part 3 of 2. Here I am. I'd asked Greg and David for just one brief minute on the agenda, and I promise it will be one brief minute. Just as your new incoming Commodore, is to thank you for the support that you've given us tonight. This is a very good club. In the 5 years that's passed since I was Commodore last, I had the privilege of being on the board of the Ontario Sailing Association, which is the provincial sport organization that we belong to. And I had a chance to look into other clubs and to meet directors from other clubs, and I can say with certainty that Nepean is a very good club. Now you've seen tonight that we've got some challenges ahead of us, and on that, you know, there's an adage out there in the business world that says you can't manage what you can't measure, and we need to do a better job on measurement, and we will. And we will manage and measure daily and weekly and monthly until we get the type of stability that we want at the Nepean Sailing Club. I'm ready to start right now. And the good news is I'm surrounded by really good people, right? I've got a super experienced board, some returning members, some returning board members, lots of experience, ready to go. We've got staff in all the right places, -1, which we hope to fix shortly. Right, Brendan? Good, okay. We're in a really good position from a staff point of view, so I'm optimistic. We're going to stay in touch, probably more than you'd like. Lots of email, lots of telltale, and then we'll be back together in the summer. But I wanted to just take this quick moment to thank you for your support. Thank you for being here tonight. We'll look forward to being in touch. Thank you.
That, I believe, ends the business of the House, and I hereby declare the annual meeting adjourned. The bar is open.